Starting with famous gunslingers and outlaws, we have Frank Heck. The Otis Miller Boys. You can pick up his handgun post-game. The Jack Hall Gang. You've heard of them, but you may not have heard of Maximo Cristobal Valdespino. The Butcher Brothers. Flaco Hernandez. His handgun's available if you want to fight him for it. Slim Grant. Landon Ricketts. Black Belle. She always knew her luck would run out sooner or sooner. Billy Midnight, not pictured with his Mauser. Emmett Granger. Granger by name, Granger by profession. Jim Boy Calloway. The Jim Boy Calloway. And finally, Bart Love. Next we have artists, painters, writers, and poets. Edith Corinne. Miss Elsie Rose. W.G. Hoyt. Aldous Bramley. Preston T. Stevenson holding some paintbrushes. Evelyn Miller, the author who gave Dutch the idea of Tahiti. Slick Hutton. Lawrence Carson. Miss Maud Delancey. Charles Chatanet. You can see him in Chapter 4. George Dixie. And finally, the poet, Richard McCullough. Continuing on, we have Vistas, Scenery, and Cities of America. Starting with New York, the city that never sleeps. Then we have Saint Denis. Blackwater, where we're currently wanted, dead or alive. Armadillo in New Austin. Rio Bravo. The Grizzlies. San Francisco, the city by the bay. Tall Trees, home of the Skinner brothers. Valentine, the very embodiment of civilization, to quote Uncle. Chicago, my kind of town, Chicago is. Rhodes. And lastly, Annesburg. Next up is Fairest Flowers and Gems of Beauty. Commencing with Miss Leela Stetson. You can find her on the windowsill at old Bob Crawford's house. You remember old Bob Crawford, Seamus's cousin by marriage. And then we have Isabel Barlow. Hattie Langtry. Another Isabel, Isabel Standish. Miss Maud Engel, Sadie Russell, Geraldine Emerson, Agnes Guion, Jenny Willits, Ilga Ulmer, Faye DeLaro, and lastly, but not leastly, Miss Pauline Henderson. And then there's Wild Flora of North America, Golden Currant, Hummingbird Sage, Oleander Sage, essential for poison arrows, Yarrow, Indian Tobacco, Black Mangrove, Longleaf Pine, Desert Fan Palm, Coastal Redwood, Horse Crippler Cactus, Blazing Star, and finally, Carolina Lupine. Moving on, we have stars of the stage. Lawrence Dunn playing Julius Caesar, Louis Durand, Jesse Raymond, Miss Augusta Tremolo, Mabel Potter, Robin Koninsky, Miss Isadore Reed as the Queen of the Nile, Irene Grubb, Nettie Palmer, Mr. Jim Cobb, currently starring as Robin Hood, Miss Mitty Comstock, and finally, Mr. Robert Elliot Patchen as King Richard the Lionhearted. You may have picked up his hat behind a waterfall near Window Rock. Continuing on with Fauna of America. The Black Widow Spider. You can pick that one up at the Dutch Pipe Cabin. The Bloodhound. What a good dog. The Blue Jay. Catfish Jackson. The Coral Snake. The Grouper. The Largemouth Bass. And here's meow meows of the desert, so rare. The parrot, you can hunt those down in Guarma. The pheasant, the snapping turtle, and the turkey. Next up, marvels of travel and locomotion. The packet ship, look at all those icebergs. The schooner with a sea monster. The camel caravan, note the dead camel. The elephant carriage, one of my favorite cars. The goat carriage. I'm not sure why this is in here. I assume it's somebody's kid. No pun intended. Kid, in case you don't know, also means baby goat. The hot air balloon, a fantastic mission. The U.S. frigate, cruising around Loch Ness it looks like. The showboat, about to go over a waterfall. The Baliner whaling vessel, look at the guy in the whale's mouth. A stagecoach with a robbery in progress. The steam locomotive, check what's on the tracks. And finally, the velocipede, which would be cool to see in Saint Denis. Next up, we are the champions, my friend. Starting with Greco-Roman wrestler Percy Wood. Billiard player Edwin A. Rowe. Bare-knuckle pugilist Theobald Getson. Oarsman H.T. Slocum. Cyclist R.S. Harridan. Tightrope walker E.D. Ewing. Patsy Hill, the lawn tennis champ. Strongman William Slaker. Pigeon killer Edwin Singerly. Skater Felix Hawley, you can find his cabin up north. Hammer thrower Captain Jack Page. And lastly, the Indian club swinger Axel McCormick. Indian clubs are kinda like kettlebells. And then we have amazing inventions. Starting with the steam locomotive, invented in 1814 by George Stephenson. These cards are all accurate as far as I can tell. The camera, invented in 1814 by Joseph Niesfior Niepce. The 1888 Electrical Execution Apparatus by H.P. Brown and A. Kennelly. The Typewriter 1829 by William A. Burt. Daniel Buck's 1836 revolver. The telegraph, invented in 1837 by Samuel Morse, along with the Morse code. Charles Kinnier's 1885 man glider. Alfred Nobel of the Nobel Prize invented dynamite in 1866. Thomas Edison's 1877 cylinder phonograph. The player piano, invented in 1881 by Edward Laveau. Thomas Edison again with his 1878 light bulb. And finally, Lewis Waterman's 1884 fountain pen. And here we have breeds of horses. Starting with American paint. The Leopard Appaloosa, available post-game in the Tumbleweed stable. The Andalusian or Andalusian. The Buckskin American Standardbred. The Blue Roan Nakota. The Ardennes, solid and built for war. The Dutch Warmblood, may be my all-around favorite horse. The Golden Turcoman, available at the Saint Denis stable after Chapter 4. The Flaxen Chestnut Hungarian Half-Bred. The Mustang, light, fast, and brave. The Thoroughbred. And finally, the Missouri Foxtrotter. Here we have prominent Americans. Starting with President Fisher. President Hardin. Artist and philanthropist Lillian Powell. Who the hell is Leviticus Cornwall? Banker J.D. McKnight. Steel magnate Luther Covington. Railroad speculator Harvey Griggs. Leading woman of letters Henrietta Beatrice Woods. Confederate General Quincy Harris. followed by Union General Cornelius. Senator Thaddeus Waxman, and finally, President Alfred McAllister. Thanks for watching. I appreciate your views. Like and subscribe for more videos, and we shall meet again further on down the trail.